Hello, this is Amanda Martha with Collection Ascension, and I will be doing a collective reading for tonight's last quarter moon, September 28th, until the new moon on October 6th. This is just to get a general feel for the energies we have going for us this week, what's accessible, what we can lean into in order to continue developing on our spiritual journeys collectively as well as individually. This is going to be a two-part video. After I do the general reading, I am going to begin a Chaos Magick rewrite of energy to see the way things can come up, place cards in places so that we can reach optimal outcomes for what is to come in the next lunar cycle. Wow, okay. So you can stay tuned for that if you like what you get so far. Three more, please. Thank you. So I have some reoccurring themes, which makes sense since we're on a journey together. The last quarter moon is all about taking rest and reflecting on what has come, what we have already celebrated for, what we've seen come into fruition. So the theme of this week should be, revolving of you doing what is needed to maintain. However, with this Four of Swords in reverse, this is the card about rest, laying things to rest, maybe even just, cycles closing. However, with it in reverse, paired with this Queen of Swords, it seems as though taking time to evaluate your own energy and get a better understanding of your own functions, when you need rest, when it's necessary to take this time out, but also balancing that by staying with your wits about you, keeping your drivenness in mind instead of maybe getting a little carried away in leisure. However, we have made some improvements by putting away this lack of optimism for life. Maybe a bit of the things that were triggering pessimism in the last weeks has cleared. We have taken some time for ourselves, and we are beginning to reflect and see what is coming to us, what we do have going for us, and what there is in the universe in general, what the universe has to offer us, period. Taking a step away from these inconveniences and stir-ups in order to continue moving and feel reinvigorated, taking that time for ourselves, but balancing it out with a continuation of expression and action will renew our sense of purpose as we continue through, seeing as, maybe the anchor of our intention is a little bit more mature, but not taking ourselves too seriously to where we can't still see life from a less adult perspective, maintaining balance between rest order and play, keeping ourselves just unified in a way that we can maintain this optimism, not get overloaded, not start to experience burnout, and not take things too seriously, not playing around too much to where we ended up losing sight of our goal. And I think, with this King of Cups in reverse, in correlation with this Ace of Wands uprighted, we've had a lot of heavy stuff to go through. We've done a lot of work. And though this card is not saying that we are too in control or we're out of control of our emotions, it's just taking this step back from being the ambassador and facilitator of our own experience based on feeling too much or not allowing ourselves to feel enough. Learning to engage with our emotional body and giving ourselves permission to create a dialogue with ourselves can ensure that new opportunities come in, because we start to begin to understand ourselves. We don't have to be so diplomatic over our life experience. We can just feel something, let it pass and flow through us, and then allow something new to come in. Because, the world is at our feet. There may be things that we have to fight for in order to see come into fruition. But, first off, we have to realize that this life is what we create it to be based off of our own experience that we have had and the way that we review our interactions. Living with perspective, present perspectives, just staying grounded and seeing what there is to offer can really put things in a place where when these things come up, any kind of hiccup, any kind of retribution, I don't know why that popped there, but when we are feeling as though we need to take the reins of our lives and we start to get kind of caught back up in our previous understanding of existence, we can lose sight of that this world is our oyster, this world is at our feet, and that we can see it as just this amazing blessing that we even get the ability to be here. And then we feel pent up again, and then our physical manifestations are now blocked. To free ourselves up for all of this new opportunity, when we get wrapped up in things, just take that step back to do whatever you need to do that will ground you deep inside of your own body, so that you can remember consciously, this is me, but this isn't me. This isn't who I am, but as I am here physically experiencing this physical experience, I can love me and take a moment to ground myself, breathing in, counting. There are so many ways that we can slow ourselves down out of our programming that is so automatic and ingrained. And when we can learn to create that to be the new automatic, then we can start to see how many more opportunities come up for us when we just put in that kind of work. It's like a complete surrender to the possibility of things. This image is coming into my mind. I was sent this yesterday or maybe even this morning, but I'll share it just because it came in to my brain. However, it seems pertinent at this time. It says, "I got you, just control your mind," said the universe. Pretty right on, I'd say. Because, our mind isn't always out to get us. It's not the worst possible villain in our story, A lot of the time, our thoughts that we have we're like put there, whether we had an experience that conjured the belief that came from within us, or if somebody told us these things that we now believe. The processes of the mind are solely there to show you a reflection of your inner world. And a lot of the time looking at that is really hard, because sometimes what you see isn't very beautiful, and it takes a lot of time and effort and working with yourself and figuring out the way that your body and your mind communicate to you personally, like bothering to take up a passion for that type of self-exploration can allow you a completely new view on like who you are as a person. And it really helps you to get way farther than you've ever been, because you start to realize that these obstacles that are in your way are actually just like illusions. So let's get a little bit more clarification on this guy here. Ooh, okay. Anything else? Oh, okay. So for this emotional block, we've got the Hermit in reverse, the Page of Cups in reverse, and the Three of Cups in reverse. Yeah, this is just like interpersonal stuff. Like, it's really easy to practice loving yourself when no one else is involved. When nobody comes and triggers your shit. When you're just spending time with yourself and you learn how to enjoy your own company, and then somebody comes through, even a loved one, somebody that you genuinely enjoy as well, can bring something up in you that just puts you right back in that automatic response, and then you just blindly start reacting. And it's just when we are not alone. I mean, that's just how this seems to me. When we're not by ourselves, when we're not taking that time to reflect, we don't see people as opportunities to continue to practice and maintain, and now the harmony is taken away. It's like not fun. We don't see things for what they are, and we want to go back into hermit mode. We want to be like, oh, people scary, sucky, ugh. I don't want to take up these opportunities. I don't want to see things because of the strife, even though it comes from within. Realizing that you're an actor on a stage, and when you go home, you're not that persona anymore. And it doesn't always have to be that way, where you cannot be your authentic self, but sometimes you have to put on a face, whether it be to go to work or to not stand on other people's toes, to not trigger other people by speaking your truth, like things that have become true to you. Imagine being an actor, and you all have your specific scenes and lines and characters, and then every single time you interact with these people in this play with you, they pretend to be their character, but you're the only one who realizes that you're actors. It can get really hard to interact with people and engage on this deep emotional level with the introspection of a hermit and this spiritual development that we've been embarking on, and try to say like, wait, no, but who are you though? And they're like, I'm my character's name. And then you realize that if they're functioning with the mannerisms of their character, not enlightened to them that that's not who their person is, and their character treats you a specific way, do they have the capability of treating you any different or saying things differently? Like, it's an actual practice. Like, this is a hard work. It is harder than anything else, in my opinion, from my experience. Like, jobs, not hard. Taxing, tiring, and annoying, sure, but taking the time to reparent yourself and reprogram yourself and rewire your entire being to remember who you are at like a core spiritual level devoid of your character or persona or anything you've ever told yourself was true, and then re-scripting the entire play for yourself. I mean, now you're the director, right? So in these times of lower vibrational interaction with people, whether it's them triggering you or you triggering them, I think taking that time to establish a fail-safe for yourself to stay in a state of accountability, it's really hard. That's probably my number one when it comes to, like, if somebody wanted to talk to me about spiritual growth and development and developing, like, who you are at your core, and letting anything that does not resonate with that divine consciousness within fall away. It's taking accountability for self. And, sometimes that means taking accountability for where you've been toxic, or taking accountability for where you've been manipulative, it's real easy to heal. It's not easy, but it's easier to heal a victim or make excuses for your way you act because of self-victimization by being in a position of being a victim. However, I think for myself personally, being able to identify and stand against myself when I'm in the wrong, when I'm functioning in my programming that is not who I am, who is not who I endeavor to be, and it is not as benevolent as I wish to function. That is so much harder than getting your heart fucking broken, because you have to realize that it's not always about everyone's up against you. And sometimes it's, I'm creating this reality and I'm attracting these people in my life that hurt me because I don't love myself right here. Whatever is in this area that I'm talking about, it can vary. And being that real with yourself is hard because your ego doesn't want you to believe that. It protects you. And if you're wrong, then you're in a state where you have to be exposed to make it right. And that's not comfortable, and the ego wants to be comfortable because the body needs to maintain a sense of comfort. It's really not as deep as I figured it was, and how we make it before I had a deeper understanding of what the true essence of this type of inner relationship with self is. Because when you establish this dialogue and you work with what works with you or for you, you can kind of let what isn't you, I was going to say fall away, but simultaneously I saw like this magnifying glass. So like it's almost as though reviewing or taking an observation of what is and isn't what you feel is who you are, what you stand for, and what you're aiming toward. And then, observing and then allowing that to be filed or placed through a process of this is not an optimal function. Thank you for your service, but, go on. That sounds more rejecting than what I'm trying to portray. Just like some things integrate themselves back into your heart center because you are gentle with yourself for making those mistakes, and then just, accepting it. Not as an aspect of who you are, but as a reality that no longer resonates. And then start to vibrate out of that function, and then you can't really maintain the both anymore. So this practice kind of forces you to outgrow mentalities that don't fit anymore. Is there anything that we can do specifically to guard us against these lower interactions. Okay. Gotta stop trying so hard, maybe. So, two major arcana cards came up. The Wheel of Fortune and the Hangman in reverse. The Wheel of Fortune is similar to the World, whereas, create your own reality. If we create our own dialogue around these things, even just going inward for a bit and say that there is a conflict that has been had or something that you need to say that you think will cause a conflict. You can go within and visualize through meditation who you wish to conduct yourself as and interact with this person or people on a higher self level in the spiritual realm to ensure and converse with angels a higher outcome preemptively in order to create a sense of to create a outcome without consequence. This guy hangs in the balance because he did something, and this is basically like upright is when we do function in a lower state and have to kind of like face the music. But in reverse, by allowing us to have or gain and access this higher perspective and not putting so much work into it, it doesn't take a lot of effort. Sometimes, the harder we try, the worse we make it. I do. Say too much. And then it gets confusing, and then not looking at these interactions as anything less than an opportunity to practice and succeed. We can't have victories unless we actually try to play, and we can't start to mend different brokenness in our being without the anticipation of acting in that way, giving our character a radical makeover. Okay, any last messages before I go to the Oracle deck? I like that one. Let's see. We have the Three of Wands and the Sun in reverse. The Sun in reverse isn't, like, in its reversed state, it doesn't have, like, a negative connotation to it. However, I feel like, this seems like a sunset, not so much a sunrise. So it's kind of like allowing these things that come up to just come and go as they do, and to be guided and make our decisions from a higher perspective and a connectedness to the higher self, or our guides in general, our intuition on how to take those steps to process these things so they don't become a conflict. And then on the other end of it is a new day, is a new opportunity, a new invigoration, and maybe going into these more shadowy aspects, we can walk toward it knowing that the sun will rise again. It's not scary. when we can have that positive anticipation of tomorrow, or I'll get it next time, you know? I don't know, this is very, it has like some hiccups over here, you know, maybe some necessity for boundaries, or some exercising of, you know, what intentions we've put in, but this doesn't feel so heavy. Sometimes I even have a hard time talking when I'm doing readings because it's just like, ugh, this energy is like suffocating. But this doesn't, I feel giddy. I feel a little bit happier. You know, optimistic, I guess, just in a general way of speaking. Just, we got this kind of energy, you know, like, ooh, do I keep those? No. Okay, so these oracle cards are by Sonia Choquette from the Asking Your Guides book. So they're generally about what type of guidance systems we can access, what aspects of our spiritual support system will be readily available for us in this time, so that we can have better support, who to call out to, what to engage with before going into, or even while, you know, sometimes I can get really hot-headed in a conversation that is upsetting to my inner child and want to start like acting out, and instead I can engage with that and say, yo, hi self, or hey, you guys, what should I say? Because I feel like what I'm gonna say is only gonna cause problems, and I really want to say it, and the fact that I want to means I shouldn't. So even in the midst of these conversations, if we can remember to just take that little breath and be like, hey, what should I say? And then wait, and then wait for it to come from here, not up here. A lot of the time you can say, and this is in the book, my head says this, but my heart says, and just go with it. Learning how to trust yourself and trust that the information you have coming in is true. You know, if it feels calm, it's guidance. If it feels charged, it isn't. And sometimes that spiritual ego can be real sneaky. Nope. Okay. See, again, we have divine healers. Ooh, divine healers, divine mother, and then the higher self, but also the divine father at the bottom here. So like that thing I said, reparenting and rewiring, you know. So I think, okay, so with the divine helpers, we have shame. So sometimes these things, you know, that can come up and trigger us and cause us to be problematic come from deep-rooted shame and a lack of self-acceptance, you know. And to call on our divine healers, I said helpers, it's healers, to, you know, when we start to feel tripped up and upset and emotionally stirred, we can ask our bodies, hey, what are you trying to show me? And listen, because your helpers will help you. You'll get like actual responses in your brain. And then just like trust that and do what you need to do for yourself, with yourself, by yourself, you know, looking at yourself from three perspectives. So an emotion is a person, your feelings, or I guess like sensation feelings are a person, your thoughts are a person, and then your consciousness is another person, and they're all you, and you're all in one body. However, if you talk to each other, you can build relationships, and then you stop fighting with each other, and then you realize, oh, my body's trying to tell my brain this because my brain told my subconsciousness this, and then my subconsciousness is manifesting it as this negative, sad feeling, and it causes problems everywhere. Like the mind-body-spirit connection is totally real if you just investigate it a little bit further. If you're hurting somewhere, whether it be emotional or physical, it's coming from your brain, a thought, a belief. so that you can look at it and see it. It's trying to get your attention. So, in those times of self-doubt and pain, shame, call on your divine healers, because look at them. They're not looking at you in judgment. They're like, hello, thank you so much for engaging with me. I have love for you. They're not looking and pointing, not thinking about you in some negative way. Because also, when people are judging us and we feel judged or we're judging others, it's usually coming from the shadow self, because there's something about those people that they judge about themselves, exactly the same thing that you're doing, that they're judging, and vice versa. So, moving on to unconditional love, when we start to see ourselves and others in a view of a mother, divine, gentle compassion, we can bypass the shame and now develop unconditional love for ourselves and others. When you start to have this dialogue with yourself and see where your fragmented bits of you are communicating and gather them together, mend it tight, and create a strong bond for yourself, you start to see the little fragments of other people and can have compassionate and unconditional love and then treat them like a divine mother would. But you first got to start with yourself. This inner child within us, start looking at it like this. When we heal our inner selves, our inner child isn't going to start stirring up shit just to get our attention. You know, a lot of the time when a kid is throwing a tantrum, it's for love, not for a spanking. So it's only going to make matters worse. So when we treat ourselves the same way, by putting shame on ourselves, we can lose control, which comes with self-control of the higher self. This whole thing, talking about self-control. Learning how to create a dialogue and a plan for when we're triggered. And establishing that necessity to make it real, make it happen. You gotta practice. It hurts. You gain muscle, you gain spiritual development. But it's still going to benefit because you're trying. And as long as we're all trying, you know, we're gonna get somewhere eventually. It's just not trying that is gonna keep you stagnant and reacting the way we always react to things based on our personal experience through life. So I think that's really all I have right here for this general reading. So the recap, really just, we're doing good. All this seemed like confirmation to me. This feels like confirmation. We're doing what we need to do. But when this block comes in, just always remember that the sun is coming. Keeping that wit about you, keeping your wisdom in your pocket, keeping your hand on your intuition, gripping it, and that sun will rise out of the shadow shit. Calling on our higher selves, the Divine Mother, and our divine healers. Taking the time to actually do that and engage. Thank you guys for watching, and if you are interested in staying tuned for part 2 to do the Chaos Magick rewrite, then go ahead and click part 2 now. And thank you so much. Have a great week.